Thank you.
If you build it, will they come? A survey of 700 potential home buyers shedding a lot of light on why people aren't buying these days. Diana Olick is live in Washington. She's got the interesting stats. Diana.
Well, Michelle, it's a surprising new study from the National Association of Home Builders research arm. They didn't exactly release it, but a Washington Post reporter got a hold of it. And according to the Post, they surveyed 700 potential home buyers, call them fence sitters, if you will, to find out what would get them to buy. But first off, let's take a look at why they're not buying. Now, 44% say they're holding out for lower mortgage interest rates. 41% say they're worried about actually qualifying for financing, and 38% say they think home prices are going to continue in free fall for a while. Obviously, some of these respondents had more than one reason. Now, this goes right to the heart of the proposals out there to save housing. Number one being that Republican one to have government subsidized 4.5% interest rates. The trouble is, the study says that home buyers want a 3% interest rate. It also says that a home buyer tax credit, which we just heard would be part of a Republican plan, and also which the home builders have been lobbying for, is not exactly high on the home builders incentive, on the home buyers incentive list. In fact, out of top 10, it was ranked just 6th. Michelle?
Diana, don't move. We're going to bring in Michael Ryan. He's head of UBS Wealth Management Research Americas, and John Taylor. He's CEO of National Community Reinvestment Coalition. Mr. Taylor, let me start with you. What do you think of the data that Diana just said, and how does that play into stopping foreclosures?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have much impact at all. I'm suspect about the data of asking 700 homeowners wherever they are, because you have this continued implosion in the market in which homes being foreclosed on. The numbers do not seem to be going down because, frankly, there hasn't been much of initiative, a lot of talk, but not much initiative to stabilize those who are heading into foreclosure. So
you testified in front of Congress recently. You said you want to modify loans, and particularly you are really in favor of modifying principal, that if the house is worth less than what you paid for, you should get a break on how much you owe, correct?
Yeah, and just to finish the answer, though, it's going to be very difficult for home builders if we continue to add to the supply side of the market. And that's what we're doing every time there's a foreclosure.
No, I get that. But my question is this. If you want to modify principal, sir, what does the homeowner have to do in exchange? There's a lot of folks who's out there. Marty Feldstein's one of them, Harvard economist, who says, okay, you want to reduce principal, that's fine, but you got to make them recourse loans. In other words, now if you default on this, we can come after your other assets, we can come after your car, we can come after your savings. Right now, that doesn't happen in this country. Would you endorse that kind of change?
Would I endorse going after the homeowner for whatever?
Would you endorse recourse loans rather than non-recourse loans, which is what the vast majority of Americans have right now?
I would endorse a partial recourse, but remember, a lot of the people who got these loans that were really inflated with inflated appraisals and inflated terms and conditions, and I guess what I wouldn't want to do is create a moral hazard where we allow this predatory lending to occur, and then the homeowner has to pay their way out of this forever and a day.
Okay.
So,
let's get to our guest host, if we could, for a minute. Jonathan Dahl of Smart Money Magazine. Jonathan, your magazine talks to consumers out there. Now, if a consumer sold a home to somebody, and then some judge ordered that consumer, hey, you cut the amount that you're owed by 30%, the consumer wouldn't like it very much, would he? But that's what these people are proposing.
Well, I think the problem here is we may be overreacting. I mean, I know things are really, really tough out there in the housing market, but we are seeing some signs of improvement. Just last week, one of the reports showed that inventory is at 18 months low. I think people are starting to snap up bargains. So, I mean, these are very brutal times, but the worst thing we can do is overreact with changing
And that would be an overreaction?
But guys, you're talking about all these foreclosure programs and modifications I hear you arguing about, but what this report is about stimulating home buying, which is one of the arguments that a lot of these foreclosures are just simply going to happen because the market simply has to correct. And what we need to do to get the housing market back in swing is to get people buying homes again. What are the incentives that are going to do it? Is it going to be the lower mortgage interest rate? Is it going to be some kind of government subsidized tax credit?
It's going to be prices falling, Diana. You reported it. People think prices are going lower until they don't think they're going to go any lower.
So the question is, so what I'm saying to you is, do you put some kind of bottom on home prices? Now, I would argue, you know, this market has to correct. But what the argument here is that if you get buyers back into the market, if you give them this very artificially low mortgage interest rate, say 3%, you're going to put a bottom on home prices because you're going to get buyers back into the market. The foreclosures at this point, so many of them are simply going to happen because the people don't want to stay in the homes.
Right,
banks are calling them. Nobody's home. Nobody's answering.
Let's bring in Mike Ryan, the patient Mike Ryan of UBS. Where do you come down on this? Tell me something, Mike. Why aren't banks simply able to realize, hey, you're close to foreclosure. Tell you what, I'm going to cut the principal on my own because it's a good deal for me. Why do we need Congress to come in and tell judges to order banks to do it, Mike?
Well, first of all, it's not that simple for a bank. Remember, a lot of the banks don't retain the loans anymore. We've had a securitization process where the institution that originated the loan doesn't own it anymore. So it's not as simple as a large bank going in and say, okay, we're gonna cut the principal balance by X or Y, and that should take care of the issue and will keep more people in homes. The other issue that was raised before, I think, was with Jonathan, the issue about the inventory of out there of supply of homes, and that's a 16 or 18-month low in terms of the overhang. Let's as John pointed out before, there's this shadow inventory, and it's the homes that are either about to be or soon in the process of foreclosure. So it's a little misleading to say there's a green shoot because the supply's been worked down, because there's a whole sod of inventory that we haven't really seen hit the market yet.
John Taylor,
Yes, sir.
you cite a Credit Suisse study that predicts 9 million homes will go into foreclosure in the next 4 years if the jobless rate stays at 8%. Out of 120 million homes, I got to tell you, 9 million. Why can't we survive it without draconian measures that take away my property rights as a bank to charge what I agreed to charge originally?
Well, we will survive it. That's not the question. The question is whether we're going to allow the foreclosure crisis, which is occurring. Folks who go into foreclosure because they lose their job, there's not much any of us can do about that. But foreclosures that occur because of the nature of the product, which in turn are bringing down the economy because they're not only devaluing the property that's foreclosed on, but they're devaluating neighboring properties.
But John, they were never worth that. They were never worth that in the first place.
They were never
agree
worth
with
that,
that.
but the equity that you were able to pull out of your
floor
home.
under homes? I mean, what, are you magic? Do you have a
But
wand?
you could pull that money out of your home. When we're talking about trillions of dollars, Dennis says, okay, well, what about, 9 million foreclosed properties, let them go. The problem is that when they bring down prices around all around them in neighborhoods across the country, you're talking about trillions of dollars in home equity lost in 1 year. 2008 alone, $3 trillion in home equity. That is money people pull out of their houses and put into the economy.
But aren't some of those 9 million people out there, they're taxpayers too, and we're spending a lot of money here to rescue the banks, to deal with this, and aren't they going to be eventually, I mean, I know, again, it's a tough time for them, but at the end of the day, aren't they going to be in trouble as being part of the taxpayers here for putting all this money in?
That's a very good point.
What are you saying, we bail them out, Jonathan, or not?
No, but we can't just, we've got to think longer term here.
All right,
guys, thank you.
And we
That's
gotta
all we
think in
got?
para- we gotta
Michelle,
think
take
in-
it away. Take it away from them.
John, thank you. We're going to interrupt you. Sorry.